Hello, my name is Dr. Barbara Stroud. I'm a clinical and developmental psychologist. I'm also a parent. Here in the Bay Area, we've recently been ordered shelter at home requirements, which means we're in our homes for the next 3 weeks. I know many parents are dealing with their children not being in school and also personally not being able to go to work. So what does this mean for us as families as we manage this crisis together? Often when children lose the structure and routine of school, they don't get to see their friends and their teachers, the things that are familiar, the things that sometimes bring them joy. It's not uncommon in such situations for children to feel anxious, emotionally overwhelmed, confused, sad, angry, and even more. So I've prepared a presentation for parents to provide you some tips on how you can manage your children and your own emotional response to this situation that's new for all of us. So I've entitled this, as you can see, COVID-19 Tips for Parents. And let's get started. I will read some ideas to you because these are my talking points and the things I've been thinking of as I put this together for you. First and foremost, in everything that I do, I know, believe, and stand on scientific evidence that when children and also adults feel safe, seen, heard, and helped, they thrive. In the moment of crisis or confusion, as a parent, the most important things you can do is allow your child to feel safe, to feel seen in your eyes as they are, with love, compassion, and sensitivity, to hear their truth, and to help them overcome the challenge. It's really important that when we look at this element of help, we're understanding that help is not about fixing, but really giving children support to self-calm. And self-calming comes from co-regulation for my infant mental health colleagues. I also want to just state that my lens is that of an infant mental health professional, which means I work primarily with children 0 to 5. A lot of these ideas will translate to school-age kids and some of them to teenagers. This fundamental need for all human beings to feel safe in relationship, not judged or shamed, to have our emotions reflected back to us in truth, to be validated for that truth, and to be supported when we're emotionally overwhelmed so that we can regain control. I'm going to be speaking from a brain science lens, from a trauma-informed lens, and from a universal understanding of what we know helps kids in crisis. So we know that fear is not healthy for development. Now I want to consider a metaphor of wildfires. I live in California, and forgive me, all my California colleagues. This is very real for us. And if we think about the fear, the panic as a raging fire, anxiety and catastrophizing and panic and negative thoughts and hoarding, those just fuel the flames. It just makes the panic increase. But when we stand on reliable information, when we maintain our own sense of physical and emotional safety in the midst of a crisis, when we're planful, when we're future focused in terms of holding on to a hope and what's going to come next and on the other side of this, because this crisis will end, then we're containing the blaze. Then we're helping mitigate some of the out of control feelings that come with a crisis. It's really important for all of us to remember that feelings are contagious. We feel other people's feelings. And parents, what this means for us is that our children are reacting to our emotional state. So if we're panicked and out of control, our kids are going to feel panicked and out of control. If we feel calm in the storm, if we're communicating that we're safe, even though it's a little bit scary, then our children are going to channel that as well. It's important that you remain calm for your children. Fear is initiated from a lower brain system, a more primitive brain system, some folks like to say. But what I want you to understand is it steals energy from other parts of your brain that support learning and personal growth. So when you're overwhelmed by fear, when you're in a state of panic, you aren't focused on other areas. So you're not able to be curious, to be insightful, to notice and respond appropriately to other people's needs. Think about kind of like tunnel vision. All you see is fear. We know that children in a state of fear have challenges learning. It's difficult to learn when you're focused on survival. So fear limits your capacity to thrive. It limits your capacity to be curious and wondering about things. And it limits your capacity to even have empathy for someone else because you're so caught up in your own fear response. So safety first. If we keep our kids safe, if we remind them that they're physically okay, if we let them know that if they are sick, this is where we're going to go. There are places we can get help. There's medical providers. We go to this particular clinic. Remind your children that even in the midst of this scary time, they are safe, because as a parent, that's your job, is to keep them safe. Navigating, icon, there we go. Navigating feelings. Do you see me? So I talked about safe, seen, heard, and helped. So first, making sure kids feel safe with you by managing your own affective experience. Second, navigating feelings with kids. Do you see me? Do you see my feelings? Do you see how overwhelmed I am? Do you see that sometimes I don't even know what I feel? I'm just lost in a sea of confusion. So our children and you as parents, we as parents have feelings. Children are going to have a variety of feelings at this time, and they may not even understand all the feelings that they have. What's most important as parents is that we listen, we stop, and make it a priority to hear what they need from us. When we're at the feeling part of our brain, it's not a rational part of your brain. So this being said, you can't rationalize someone out of a feeling state. You can't talk them out of that. They don't need a reason to be afraid. They just are. And it's important that we listen with the desire to understand the depth of their feelings, not to try to fix their feelings. So your job as a parent is not to make the feelings go away, but to hold the child in those feelings. To say that, I know you're really scared and I've got you. It's okay to have those feelings. You're not alone. When we do that, this allows kids to build that capacity for resilience, and it leads to self-calming skills. All of our science tells us you don't self-calm until you've been supported with co-regulation. Other people have to help you when you're overwhelmed for you to build self-calming skills. Now, don't be surprised or angry if your child or even you suddenly have a strong outburst of emotions for what appears to be no reason. Suddenly you start crying, your child starts crying. Fear, anxiety, anger, something else. This is typical. There's a lot going on, and sometimes we don't even know how overwhelmed we are until we start to cry. As parents, you will also need your own emotional support. So take time to make a list of those you can reach out to who are compassionate and empathetic and supportive and available, because you need a resource just like your child does. Sharing your story. Do you hear me? Are you hearing my needs? In our efforts to make sense of things that are irrational or scary, we often encourage children to create stories. So we want children to sort of tell the story of their experience. Some story starters that I have for you here are, what is your story of how the coronavirus or COVID-19 has changed your life? Because things are different now, and it may feel yucky or scary or unfair. What's your story? What do you most miss now that we're in this current situation and you're not able to do that? What are your feelings that you're experiencing during these current restrictions? And what are the top 3 activities you most want to do when these restrictions are over? So these are just some ideas to get this conversation started. Allow your child to go at their own pace. Never push. There's no right or wrong way to do this. Just be compassionate and available and curious, and let your child know that you really want to hear their story, because their story matters and they matter. Remember not to guide the story or minimize any feelings. We know that shaming is not a healthy tool for development. Kids can feel whatever they want to feel. There's no right or wrong way to feel. And their story doesn't really have to make sense. The important part is that you are active in them creating the story. And this opportunity of creating the story is a process, a method for them to organize what is happening and for them to get a sense of control. One of the pieces about a crisis or a scary event is it feels really overwhelming. So when I can organize it in a story, I feel like I can kind of contain it a little bit. And for young people, that's really important to have a sense of containment or control over their experience. Now, I want you to imagine the needs of the child. I know you have a lot of needs, parents. I know as a parent, I'm thinking about a lot of things for my family. And at this time, as we're wanting to make sure our kids feel safe, seen, heard, and helped, think about some of the experiences your child might be needing at this time. And these ideas can cut across all ages. You want to give your kid permission to have feelings. They don't have to Be strong and toughen it out. They are allowed to have feelings. So here's where I have my metaphor. I see you in terms of I see what you feel. And I will validate and honor whatever you are experiencing in the moment. And I'll work to keep you safe in that feeling state. Some children can become very overwhelmed by their feelings. Some children and teens find their feeling state so overwhelming they think they won't survive it. And the best thing we can do is not pull away, but move closer and say, as scary as this feeling is, you don't have to hold it alone. Listen to the story behind the feeling. So this is I hear, right? I see, I hear you, and your story is your truth. I don't have to have the same story. You can have your own story and it's still valid. And you know what? If tomorrow you have a different story, that's okay. I don't need to rewrite your story with my story. You may find the dark scary and I don't, but that's okay because your story is legitimate and valuable. And I want you to feel honored in your story. And then how can I help? Safe, seen, heard, and helped. How can I help versus this is what I'm going to do to help you? The difference is you're inviting the child to initiate a request for what they need, and then you're supporting that. Help means that you're not alone. I'm with you in your feelings, and I'm with you in this crisis. Empower your child with information. Information is a great combative to fear. Offer comfort that's developmentally appropriate to meet your child's needs. Some kids might want hugs. Little kids might want to sit on your lap and have a story, even though they feel older than that. Your teenagers may want to cuddle with you, believe it or not. And don't be afraid to say, I don't know, but we're going to figure it out, or I'm here for you, even in the not knowing. Safety and routines. Children, particularly young children under 6, 7, love routines. They may not act like they do, but they do. And school provides structure and predictability. So in this time of uncertainty, dependable routines really do matter. Take time to create routines at home. Talk with your family system about what makes sense for you. Maintain a bedtime and stick with that bedtime. Make hand washing a regular routine, and you can turn it into something fun. You can use foam soap that's colored. You can sing songs together. You can make it a joyful activity. You can create a visual schedule. This is where we have time frames and breakfast time and then reading time. And after reading time, 10 minutes of iPad. And after iPad, we're going to do some math. So have a schedule so that kids know what to expect and stick to the schedule. Remember, it's to take breaks. It's not just all homework time. Have at-home recess. And in addition to your kids' schoolwork, do some fun things. What do your kids like? Do they like music? Do they like art? Do you want to do kids yoga? Are they interested in cooking? Do a cooking activity. Add creative elements as well. And get outside. Take a walk. Play. Vitamin D is good for you. If you are in a place where there's sun, I'm in California, we have some sun sometimes. Limit screen time. It's not that screen time is the enemy, but don't make it the priority. And certainly don't use screen time as a babysitter. So what can you expect as parents? Well, not all children respond the same to crisis. Things that you can expect are kids to worry about the safety of their parents. Children are very concerned about you, and they know that they need you. So they're worried if you're sick. Emotional outburst. Connection-seeking behavior. Some folks use attention-seeking. I think it's more complex than that. I think our children need our connection for their social and emotional development. And it's not really the method by which they're connecting that we want to focus on. Maybe they are tantruming or crying or even hitting, poking at us. It's that they need us. So what they're trying to communicate is they need us. So we want to make sure we're present and we're reassuring of their fear and concern. Some kids will have trouble sleeping, even nightmares. Some may have aggressive or irritable responses. And you might see increased fear responses, younger children who were no longer afraid of the dark or monster or scary noises. So some what we might call immature or regressive behavior. Some children may not act out at all. They may kind of shut down and become inward and very quiet and isolative. So these are just some things you might see in your children. Create a community, even though you're at home. Contact other parents. Share resources. If you have a friend that's got great math skills, let him or her send that information to you. If you have another parent that's wonderful at English and creative writing, let them connect with you and share information. Or create a text group where parents can send ideas back and forth. Connect with friends so that you can share your concerns and your fears, because you don't want to indirectly share all of that emotion with your child. Your child is not your emotional support. So again, make sure you have your emotional support. And use technology to connect with family and friends, but also create a boundary. If you've had enough of this discussion, give yourself a break. It doesn't have to be COVID-19 24/7. We all have other elements of our lives, and we need to celebrate them. Parents, take care of yourself. You are a very important role model to your children. Believe it or not, your children are paying more attention to what you do than what you say. So take breaks during the day. Model self-care. And share how you handle your emotions. Yes, this is sometimes scary for me too, but I know where to get information, and I really do trust people who are telling us. The Center for Disease Control and the World Health Organization are giving us really good advice. I put some examples here on the little slide narrative. When I get overwhelmed, I make a list of what I need to do, and that helps me feel organized. Or when I get scared, I remember that there are people in charge who want to help us. Take care of your mental and your physical health. Whatever that looks like for you. If you need to take a walk, if you need a break from your children, that's healthy too. Talk to friends, journal, yoga, whatever helps you stay mentally and physically healthy. And relationships and connections are supportive. So reach out, text, call, FaceTime. You don't have to do this alone, because we know that loneliness and isolation is also not helpful for your mental health. We're going to get on the other side of this. And remember that, to share that with your kids, to say, this is a temporary situation. Yes, it's scary, and yes, we don't always know, but it's not going to last forever. And make a plan with your family. What are the things we want to do? Maybe it's that favorite restaurant, or maybe we're going to drive to a part of town and see family we didn't get to see. But make a plan so you have something to look forward to. Having a future focus brings hope to an experience. And it's a factor that promotes resilience. So hope is healing, and it does make a difference. So hold on to hope. And remember, this is a temporary moment that requires a lot of time and attention from you for your children, so that they can build those strong muscles of resilience and emotional coping. And my name is Dr. Barbara Stroud, as I move this icon around. And my goal is to change the world one relationship at a time. I know there's a lot of strong feelings out there for kids and parents. I, again, am not an expert in disease control or any of those elements, but I am a mental health professional who knows a great deal about trauma responses and child development. So I felt very compelled and very compassionate to add a little bit of my science and my knowledge to parents out there to hopefully help you manage this situation. So go take care of yourself. Make sure your children feel safe, seen, heard, and helped. And together, we're going to make the world a better place, one relationship at a time. Thank you so much.